you look around at this country, for decades, we have watched, a one-sided class war, of course. What is inspiring to me right now is not that I feel that we're on the brink of victory, but that in just the last 6 months, if you start counting from the Tunisian revolution, which takes off in December, and then of course Egypt in January, beginning in January 25th, and then of course Mubarak's fall on the 11th or the 12th, which then corresponds with the day when the governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker, declares war on unions. This is a 6-month period of time. We are watching the beginnings, even in this country, of a fight back unlike anything that people my age and younger have ever seen. It's been generations now since the last major social and economic upheaval in the United States, and we're watching the early stages of it at a period of time when the far left is rather small, although I might add growing. And this conference of Socialism 2011, Revolution in the Air, is evidence of it. And the readership of socialistworker.org, the partnerships we have with the Nation, with all sorts of, with Mondo Weiss, with Philip Weiss, and and that excellent blog site with Ali Abu Nima, who's here, with Glenn Greenwald from Salon.com. All of these things are signs of a developing collaboration of people on the left to sort through where the hell are we, what went wrong, and how do we move forward from here. So I think if it were just about a battle that took off in a Midwestern state, that ultimately, let's face it, for the time being has lost, then we'd say, well, there goes yet another lost battle. But now we're beginning to see attempts to imitate that, those occupations and massive fightbacks in state after state after state, whether it's Connecticut or the Bloombergville that just had an encampment outside of City Hall for the last 2 weeks in New York, or the California fightbacks, which have also occupied state buildings. This is now an idea, thanks to the Egyptians, that Americans are taking hold, and of course Europe is imploding as well, or exploding, or both. From Greece to London to Madrid. So we're watching a sort of global upheaval. Every place it looks different. You can't simply superimpose the politics, the culture, the organizational or lack thereof structures from one country to the other. But the working classes across the world waking up and feeling their own power is something very new, something very refreshing, and something that really is the future, I believe, of humanity. Because there is no future for us. There's no environmental future for us. There's no social future for us. If the people who run this world are able to get away with the current onslaught, we're screwed. We're done for. Egypt didn't look like Egypt a couple of years ago. I had the great fortune to travel to Cairo and to be part of a Cairo conference with the April 6th movement and Kefaya, which means enough, and the Mahalla textile workers who work in one of the largest factories, if not the largest factory in the Middle East, a textile factory, some 26,000 workers, and heard people talk about the struggles that they were partaking in back in 2008, 2009, I can't remember exactly. And what was extraordinary about that is here were pockets of people who were fighting largely in isolation from any big media presence, who are accustomed to having protests in Tahrir Square of 200 or 300 or 400, something that we're familiar with here, clutches of people who were on the far left who would agitate around Palestine or this or that. And a convergence of forces and organizational happenings preceded the January 25th date. And so I think when people denigrate small protests, small shoots of resistance here, what they're denigrating is the accumulation of knowledge, organization, networks, lessons of collaboration with each other, lessons in the negative, which are just as important, what fails. And that's how we're going to see, no, our revolution will not look like the Egyptians. But no two revolutions ever do look exactly alike, do they? It will have its own American colorings, but to say that a people who have had a revolution to break from a monarchy as its birth pangs, and then a second revolution to rid itself of slavery, and ongoing history of rebellions that the world celebrates. May Day, after all, the workers' holiday, originates here in the United States. The 1930s, which brought us the weekend and Social Security and, decent expectations of, and unionization and all the rest of that. These are not lost. We have to. The role of organized socialists is to sort of perpetuate those lessons and regenerate a sort of and help build a new leadership and learn from the struggles around us.